It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the College of Coastal Georgia's head women's basketball coach, Coach Denise Hannah. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college basketball?
I've always had the desire, even when I graduated from college, I wanted to get into it eventually. I wanted to pursue uh, professional basketball. And then when that was over, I actually got it started at the high school level and spent many years doing it, but um, kind of was in law enforcement, kind of like that as well. So I kind of pursued that angle first, and then kind of got tired of the law enforcement, and I went into teaching, started coaching college, high school basketball, and I knew at some point that I wanted to be at this level. So I planned my journey as precise as I could. Obviously, having a family, it takes a different path at sometimes, but needless to say, I retired from law enforcement, and this was my heart was in coaching, so I went back into coaching at the collegiate level, and here I am.
What was it like going to Oklahoma City University to play basketball?
It was an awesome experience. Obviously, being a native of Miami, Florida, and going to Oklahoma, it was a different culture. It just gave me an opportunity to appreciate the little thing when it comes to playing the sport. It was a great experience. I met people from all different parts of the world. I had a wonderful coaching staff, and it kind of prepared me for where I am today.
What was that feeling like getting to represent Oklahoma City and putting on that uniform?
Oh, it was a wonderful experience. It was a culture like none other. It was a winning atmosphere. We won the national championship my junior year, and so it was just uphill from there. So it's awesome. Even to this day, I get quite a few people that reach out to me because obviously I was an All-American there and up on the board somewhere in the new gymnasium, and so I wore it with pride, and I still have that sense of pride about the university today.
Of course, as a junior, what was that like going to the national championship and winning it?
Oh, it was wonderful. No one gave us a chance. And that was my coach message to us. Like, we're the underdog. So why not us? And that's kind of like the message I carry with my team now. No, you have nothing to lose. You just leave it all out on the floor and let the chips fall where it may. So we played in the championship. I remember it clearly. We played at Claflin University, which is now a D2 program. And they had the number one scorer in the nation. And even still, with as many points as she scored in that game, we were still able to win that game and celebrate a championship, and thus started the winning tradition at Oklahoma City University. I believe they have 9 or 10 women's national championships in basketball.
How was that feeling like as a player to get to start that tradition of obviously, as you said, having so many national championships?
Oh, it was just such a great pride, a sense of accomplishment, being a part of that culture. It was it's a little different than what we experience today. The hard work, the 4 or 5 o'clock a.m. workouts on the hills, and it's 20 degrees. It was great. We didn't see the fruits of our labor at that time, but it paid off with the national championship.
After your collegiate career, what was that like getting to play overseas professionally?
It was great. It was an eye opener, because we obviously in the states we live in those that are overseas. You learn to appreciate the little things, even just the facilities that you play in, having the ability to have more than one uniform. So playing overseas, it just gave me a different perspective of life, but it also allowed me to travel the world and learn about other and how people live. So it was a great experience for me.
After your professional career, what was that transition like from going from being in law enforcement to getting into coaching?
It was different. Obviously in law enforcement, when you go through the academy structure, a lot of discipline. But it did prepare me for this position to be able to mentor young ladies, prepare them for life outside of basketball. So it all kind of was ball up into one big ball of yarn when you take it. The fact that you are disciplined, you're required to have a straight uniform, and you got to follow things by the law. It prepares you for positions like this because obviously you got to do things decent and in order, but you also have to mold your team and your young ladies or young men to go out and be productive citizens in society. So I think it works hand in hand.
What was that experience like getting to work on the professional level in the D League for the Georgia Pursuit?
It was short lived, but it allowed me an opportunity to see on the professional side and the coaching side. I met so many great young ladies. And it became a conflict of interest for me. So I had to resign from that position and continue with as an assistant coach on the collegiate level because I knew that my goal was to be a head coach on the collegiate level, but not so much on the professional level. But I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to learn as much as I could being a new head coach.
Of course, how was that like getting to work as the assistant coach for St. Thomas?
Oh, it was a great experience. I am so grateful to St. Thomas University at the time, the president, and obviously Coach Candace Walker, who gave me my first opportunity at the Cleveland as an assistant. And obviously, I learned so very much from her and appreciated mentoring with other people in the conference or the coaches in the conference and other coaches around the country. Because obviously, when I was there, we made it the 2 years that I was at St. Thomas as an assistant, made it to the national tournament. And I met so many people and mentored with them, shared our stories. So it was a great networking tool for me as well.
How did your time as a head coach in the D League help you to get your coaching job as a head coach for Coastal Georgia?
I don't know that it really played a factor in it. It just showed that the experience and that I was able to gain as a coach. But obviously it looks good on your resume. I'd like to think that it was obviously I had been in the same conference my entire career. And I think that in addition to obviously being in front of a committee and giving them my accolades, also with my vision for a program, I think that was a great determining factor in me being selected for this position.
Of course, as you talked about, obviously coaching in the same conference, what has that been like getting to go from Thomas University to coach to now Coastal Georgia to coach?
Oh, it's been wonderful, but between Thomas University and obviously Coastal, when I was at St. Thomas, we obviously played University and we also played Coastal Georgia. So I had a great relationship with the previous head coaches. Obviously we kind of sit down and talk about comparisons between the program. And so it was great. I was really appreciative and grateful the fact that I could stay in this same conference because obviously I know the conference well from being, coaching an assistant. So it just kind of prepared me a little bit more to be able to compete at this level.
What was that feeling like when you did get that call to become the next head coach?
Oh, if I could have done a backflip, I would have. I was actually sitting in a meeting, and I had to step out of the meeting because I saw the call come in, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was kind of like, thank you for your time. But we've decided to go in a different direction, or we want to offer you the position. So I stepped out of that meeting, and the athletic director, Dr. Carlton at the time, he said, kind of like small talk, how's your day going? He says, well, we'd like to offer you the position. And I was like, yes. I just kind of did a fist pump. And like I said, if I could have done a backflip, I probably would have done that as well. And it was the greatest feeling in the world because I knew so hard to get where I am today.
What was that feeling like once you didn't get the job and you stepped on campus and you got started coaching and building the team around you? What was that feeling like building that team around you?
It was a little overwhelming at the beginning because I started so late. I started on September 1st, which gave me 21 days to prepare my team before the season officially started. But it was like I was hitting the ground running. I was trying to, obviously I inherited a team. I had to get the team together, myself, my expectation, my team standards, and then also just letting them know, at the time it was a new coach, new culture, new coastal. And so that was a great experience, just coming in and embracing. But I knew I had work ahead. And so at that time, I just buckled down, I put on my seatbelt and I said, here we go, get ready for the ride.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for Coastal Georgia?
Right now, the culture, we're building one player at a time. We're trying to build that championship culture, obviously being a national champion in coaching at St. Thomas and making it to the national tournament. Obviously, I know what it takes to get there. And so just trying to get the understand that in order for you to be a champion, the culture has to change. And there's some always standards and expectations that you put on the program that they don't always understand. But it has to be done in order for us to get where we need to be and be competitive, because this is a very, very competitive.
Have you been able to use, obviously, as you said, being a player of a championship team and also now a coach of a championship team, have you been able to use both of those experiences to help you to build that championship culture at Coastal Georgia?
Yes, I use it as motivation for the ladies. I hadn't even had my plaques or anything in my office, or for that, my being inducted to the Sports Hall of Fame at Oklahoma City University. I had all that stuff at home. And so my son came to my house one day and it was sitting there. He's, Mom, why don't you have this in your office? Like, this could be motivation for your team. And I'm like, it's not about me. It's about them. He said, yeah, but you kind of want to use that as a motivating factor. So I brought it in. And as my recruits come in, look around my office and they're like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I'm like, yeah, this is what hard work will get you. You'll one day receive this plaque and cut down the nets and have this big poster in your office with your picture and your signature on it. But it takes hard work to get there.
Of course, what does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach?
It starts super early. If we play, I don't care if we played at 2:00 or 5:30. I'm up at 5 or 6 in the morning already watching film. And getting my game plan together, or I'm on the phone with my assistant coach and we're figuring out before we even get into the office. And so once I get into the office, I just go through my normal ritual. I come in, I obviously pull up my computer, look at our opposing team. I have my scout report on my desk. And this is what we're going to run. This is how we're going to defend. And so I'm kind of like a little bit OCD, so I do things the same way every time. And then we go from there. If we're playing it, obviously if we're on the road, we're in a hotel and it's an entire schedule for the day. But if we're at home, I go into the locker room, I write a quote on the board for the day, and then the emphasis for the game, and then our game plan. And so it's exciting. It's never a dull moment here in my office. It's like Grand Central Station, especially on game day. And so it's just an exciting time, and I'm always hyped up to get going.
What does that game day atmosphere at home look like?
Oh, it's a wonderful atmosphere. We're the only college in the city, and so we get great community support. And so as we get ready to prepare for our game, the ladies have shoot around on game day that morning, and then they have a little bit of time to eat and rest, come back, and then they get ready for game day ritual. Get out on the floor, get their warm up in, and then it's downhill from there. And so once we come in, the gym is packed, and people are cheering, and it's a great atmosphere. Very much a lot of support on the campus and throughout the community. So it's wonderful.
Of course, who are some of those teams that you face each week in your conference?
Obviously, St. Thomas, Florida Memorial, Kaiser University in West Palm Beach, Ave Maria, Weber University, Warner University, and Southeastern. And Thomas was in this conference, but this was their last year, so they're out of our conference. They are now in the SAC conference. So it's just 8 of us. It was not. So those are the teams that we would face on a weekly basis.
What is that like going to St. Thomas and playing them versus having Kaiser come home and play y'all?
Oh, it's always home for me when I go to St. Thomas. I see so many people that were there when I was there, so it's always love. Everybody's so welcoming, and then when Kaiser comes here, it's always a battle. It's always a battle. Great game. Battle of wits. Chess moves. Pam over there, she's a great coach. Has done wonders with that program, and so it's always exciting to match up with them.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes?
Oh, this is where the work begins. I always tell everybody that it's not doing this you're coaching. It's actually competing to try to get those top tier athletes, especially when you have other teams in the conference trying to get those same players as well. Um, and so it's always a wonderful, wonderful feeling to know when a player commits to you that you've worked hard to bring them into your culture. Uh, but now, I am actually working um, with uh, my assistant coach with bringing in a lot of transfers so that we can be able to compete at a high level this upcoming year.
What does that look like when you go out on the road recruiting those players? And what are some of the things that you look at in those players?
Well, we travel obviously to games when we can and to tournaments. When we're not playing in season, most teams are playing the same days or nights that we're playing. But we look for kids, high character kids. We look for kids who love the sport, not like it. We look for kids who have those little intangibles that we can put the pieces of the puzzle together for our team. That's going to be a great fit. We look for pit bulls. We want kids who are going to dive on the floor or take charges, or going to sprint back when they miss a shot, or if they get the ball stolen. So we just look for those hard hat kids, those kids that want to take their game to the next level and represent the College of Coastal Georgia.
What does your official visit process look like for those prospective student athletes?
The official visits usually they come in. We work in on a particular day that's convenient for their schedule. We give them a campus tour. We put them through a workout, and then we meet with them afterwards and kind of get a feel for how their visit was, what they are looking for in a program, what they are looking for in a coaching staff, and most importantly, what are they looking for in culture with a team. And hopefully that we have shown them something that they are looking for that will make them want to commit to our college.
As a head coach, what is that feeling like seeing those players get to put on that blue Coastal Georgia uniform on their freshman year?
Oh, it was a wonderful feeling to see those kids, to see the guys to have an opportunity to play at the next level, obviously coming from high school. Um, and some of the challenges they face, obviously learning a new system that's a little more complex than what they learned in high school, having to play defense and move their feet, something that they may not be doing at the high school level, or learning certain defensive schemes. And it can be challenging. It can be a little overwhelming, and sometimes the game is moving too fast for them. But once they settle in, you see, you have an opportunity to see what their full potential is.
How is that feeling like seeing those freshmen go from being a freshman, not knowing about the program, and then blossoming their sophomore year and onwards?
It's great. It's rewarding to see the growth and progression from freshman to sophomore year. Obviously, some of the freshmen, unfortunately, they don't have the desire to move forward at the collegiate level, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, it's about their mental health and their ability to in society. If it's too overwhelming and something that they can't feel that they have too much pressure on their shoulders, obviously we want them to make the best decision for themselves. But the ones who do stick with it, you see the growth over the year, from practice to individual workouts, to their working out on their own, and then you see how they have really grown in the sport, and it's rewarding because they get to showcase it on the floor.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those seniors get to put on that uniform for the last time representing Coastal Georgia?
It's a wonderful feeling, but it's surreal, but it's also it makes you a little teary eyed. Although I have not seen my first senior class just yet, I'm looking forward to it as I bring in those freshmen and they get to that senior. But the ones that are already here, you grow a bond with them. You appreciate all the work and time that they contributed to the team. And it's unfortunate you can't keep them because a lot of them are great kids. You wish you can keep them forever, but they got to move on. And I'm just thankful that I had an opportunity to coach them for a short amount of time and mentor them. And it's a great feeling once they walk across that stage with their degree and they get to move on. Either they decide to go and play at the next level, or they go out and they become a professional in some other realm of life.
As a head coach, what is that feeling like seeing them go on to play professional and also go on in the professional world and do things like become a nurse, doctor, and dental person?
It's a wonderful thing to know that you played a part in that. I've had this year my juniors that were a part of our team. We've gotten them contracts to play at the next level. That's a wonderful feeling knowing that I'll be a part of that, give them that opportunity, such as to go over and for the world see other parts that they probably wouldn't have been afforded. And I've had that first group that I inherited. I had 2 student athletes who are study doctors. And so that's a great feeling because one day you never know, they may have to save your. So it's wonderful, and I try to be very transparent as a person and a coach, and tell them about life lessons. So I just hope that something that I've done have touched them in a special way that they can carry on in life and then look back and share with their.
Of course, as a coach, what has it been like obviously giving those players that are looking to play overseas that professional guidance that you had and that you've been through as you've played overseas?
I wanted to be a part of their journey. I get a lecture on some things that they should consider, some things that they need to ask, and obviously, I have a connection with them having the ability to get an agent that I know is going to take care of them, and so I wanted to be a part of that because I want them to get the best possible experience and the best possible opportunity. So I share my experience with them. Obviously, the game has changed and things have changed, but um, the questions never change. And so I just kind of gave them a list of questions to ask as far as, playing and injuries and long term and travel and housing. So all that good stuff that I was able to be a part of, I wanted to share with them so that they would be a part of it as well.
What are some of your future plans for the Coastal Georgia program?
Oh, first building a championship culture, obviously, and then, but most importantly, my first focus with this program is academics. Right now, our minimum GPA requirement for each player in the team is a 3.0. We want to gradually increase that every year as time goes by, because we want to be known as a program in the country as an academic a top academic performing program, and so that is always our focus. And so with that, we put our student athletes in every possible situation to be successful. And so with that, then we move over to the athletic side. Obviously, we want you to train hard, be able to compete at a high level in this conference, and give ourselves a chance to be conference champions and obviously make an appearance at the next.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to play college basketball?
First and foremost, go to class. You won't be able to play if you're not. Secondly, be a good person, whether you're a starter or a teammate. Be a great teammate, and work hard. You're only going to get so many reps in practice. You got to put in the work outside of practice. You got to put in work outside of training with your coach. You got to pick up a basketball on your own, even when you don't feel like it, and put in the extra work. And if it takes doing 1,000 shots a day, that's what it's going to take for you to get to that next level. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to make sacrifices, and part of those sacrifices are, giving up hanging out with your friends, or giving up on social media and computer. Set aside an hour a day where you can get that work in, so that you can make yourself available or make yourself known amongst college coaches and make them want to recruit you heavily.
What advice would you give those freshmen that are entering their first year of college basketball?
Focus. Get your order. Understand that you're there for academics first, athletics second, and then your college experience and your social life third. And so obviously you have a newfound freedom away from parents and away from home. And you need to be very wise with the way that you yourself. You got to be very structured. You got to be very disciplined because you're not going to have, mom and dad coming in up saying, "Hey, Sally, get up. It's time to get ready for school." You got to be able to set your alarm and know that you got to get up and you got to be on a time limit to get to class. And you got to be on a time limit to get to practice. So there's a whole ton of parameters that you have to deal with when you find that independence or newfound freedom. And obviously it starts with disciplining yourself on and off the court.
What advice would you give those college basketball players that are looking to play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the WNBA, or even overseas?
So this is a conversation that I've been having a lot with recruits lately. With mentality, or it's I need to go D1 or bust. And one of the things that I explain to them is that if you put in the work, you can go. It doesn't matter what level you're at. Obviously, if you're not the top 25 or 30, top 25 or 30, number 30 in the country at any program, the WNBA is not even looking at you. So you got to give yourself other opportunities to get to that level. And it absolutely starts with your work habits. So you can't expect to get overseas and play ball, or in WNBA for that matter, if you're not putting in your work. Is not going to get done in a 2-hour practice session. It's going to be done outside of the practice sessions, those individual workouts. And again, getting those 1,000 or 2,000 shots up a day, working on your game, working on your defense. So it's up to them how far they want to go with their work habit.
Of course, what advice would you give those players that are females that are looking to get into college coaching after their collegiate career?
I would suggest that they've started as a grad assistant. Find a program that has a graduate school and a coaching staff that is looking for a grad assistant. Obviously, you start at the bottom and work your way up. So you want to get with a program and a coach who's going to teach you as much as possible, so that once you finish as a grad assistant and you get your graduate degree, now you can start looking at those next level positions where you can get on a coach's. Even if you go in as a DOBO, a director of basketball operations, where you're basically just a basketball secretary, doing travel, booking hotels, you know, whatever they require you to do, that's where you have to start. And so you're not going to always be able to just jump right into coaching, unless you just kind of know someone and they take a chance and bring you on a coaching staff. You got to start. Sometimes you got to start at the bottom and work your way up. And then you get a little bit of gratification when you do that, because you get an opportunity to learn as much as you can. So there's nothing wrong with starting at that bottom point.
What advice would you give those assistant coaches that are looking to get started in coaching and then move their way up to become head coaches?
Learn as much as you can. Get involved. Get on the floor. Get active. Sit with your head coach. Learn how to do the little things. Again, the itineraries to travel, watching film, doing scouting reports. Do as much as you can at the assistant level, so that you can prepare, so that when you're ready to move on and you think that you have an opportunity to get a head coaching job, you'll be prepared. And obviously you want to get as many mentors on as many different levels, and because you can learn so much from different people. Everybody does things differently, and you can take nuggets and bits and pieces from that and put it together to run your own program.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to start their own program and become head coaches of a program?
Just perseverance. If that's what you really want to do, then tell yourself you do it. Put it out in the atmosphere. Make it happen. And again, give those mentors and ask questions and ask for guidance, because obviously we know that we don't know everything, and we'll get it. As an assistant coach, you want to get yourself ready to stand on that platform. Obviously, you see, stories in March Madness right now, where they started at a particular program at the bottom and they have worked their way all the way up to a national stage. So if that's your desire and that's your aspiration, you got to go for it. Just do it.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program app?
I am Coach D Hannah on Facebook. The coach, well, they say the coach, but it's the Coach Hannah on Facebook. I am Coach D Hannah on Twitter, and I am, oh, what am I on Instagram? Not on there often. I have to look back at that one. But I am on Instagram. If you type in my name, you should be able to find me. So, and then I'm also on Coastal Georgia Women's Basketball Twitter page.
Thank you again, Coach Denise Hannah, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the College of Coastal Georgia as the head women's basketball coach.
Thank you, Brandon, for having me, and I hope that something that I've said today has inspired or touched someone to reach their goal.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Denise Hannah, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.